What are you talking about? I'm not a YouTuber. You should see your face. Of course I'm a bloody YouTuber. For those of you who go to the movies every single week like I do, I know you understand the struggle. But we made it. Speak No Evil has finally been released, which means we won't have to watch that trailer anymore.
Jesus f***ing Christ, it's about time!
Rejoice! The Speak No Evil trailer can't hurt us anymore. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
In Speak No Evil, a dream holiday turns into a living nightmare when an American couple and their daughter spend the weekend at a British family's idyllic country estate. Now, under normal circumstances, I might start this review off by saying that the trailer revealed too much. And considering how many times I've seen this trailer, it would make a lot of sense. However, this is the rare instance where the fact that you know who the villains are, and in general, know what they are about, does not ruin the experience.
You serious?
And the reasons for that are actually quite simple, and they revolve around James McAvoy and the way that this movie is delivered and structured. Now, full transparency, this movie is a remake, and I did not know that going in. So I can't speak on, pun intended, how this film stacks up with the original, or how similar they are, and if seeing the original ruins seeing the remake. But for me, going in blind, I have to be honest, I was mostly entertained by this movie through its entire duration. And first and foremost, I have to mention James McAvoy, because he does not get enough credit as an actor, in my opinion. The guy just has range, and it's absolutely criminal that we don't get to see him in more things. In a lot of ways, especially when it comes to performances, he carries this movie. And he does so with an absolute unmatched screen presence. I mean, he's not quite as versatile in this movie as he was in Split, for obvious reasons. But his character in Speak No Evil is just as unsettling. The way he goes from likable James McAvoy to bat insane James McAvoy and back again, and that always impresses me. There are more than a few scenes in this movie where he just makes the entire situation so uncomfortable based purely on his unhinged performance.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Even when he is playing the nice guy, which is in the grand scheme of things nothing more than manipulation. But even though I myself knew that eventually this was all going to go to a very dark place, I couldn't help but get sucked in by his charm. It made it very believable how a family who barely knows him could potentially let their guard down when first meeting him. And then once he goes full beast mode, it's like, my god, if this guy hadn't already played Professor X, he would probably be a pretty decent Wolverine. He is just very good at capturing that animalistic intensity. As far as the rest of the cast, I felt like both child actors in the film did great considering the circumstances. When it comes to the main protagonists of the film, however, this is something that I felt left a lot to be desired.
And here we go.
Specifically, Scoot McNairy's character, Ben. And my god, if there was ever a protagonist that was written to be extremely difficult to root for, this would be the one. I mean, we've seen insecure characters with no backbone in movies before, but this guy is almost completely useless. Throughout the entire course of the film, I was just begging this guy to stand up, be a man, and protect his family. Or at least put his foot down, notice the red flags, and take a stand in some of these awkward situations. But he never really did it, at least not convincingly, and in effect, it made him pretty unlikable.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
Mackenzie Davis plays his wife in this film, And clearly, she is written to be the one with the balls in the family. She is the one who challenges the antagonists. She's the one more well-equipped to take the fight back to them. And to me, it felt very natural when her maternal instincts kick in and she decides to take control of the situation because her husband clearly is not. To me, the setup of this movie is ultimately much more satisfying than the payoff. What I mean by that is this film does a great job of building genuine tension. And it kind of does so in a slow burn way, which I appreciated. Too often, modern films like this tend to rush into things. But this one showed some patience. And it trusts tried and true filmmaking techniques to keep the audience invested. To me, there's just a very natural progression to this movie. As different situations arise, things get progressively more uncomfortable and awkward as the film goes on.
Oh, this is uncomfortable.
And as a viewer, you can't help but feel like you are watching a boiling pot that is simply ready to explode. You know that it's coming, but you aren't 100% sure on how we are going to get there. And to me, that is effective filmmaking. To me, once the finally hits the fan in the third act, that's when things get considerably less interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, it was still entertaining, but at that point, it becomes more of a standard cat and mouse situation, which we've seen 1,000 times before. One other aspect of this movie that really stood out to me was how they portrayed the clashing ideologies of the characters. You have this kind of vegan electric car family whose child needs a comfort stuffed animal to control her anxiety. And then you have this other family who, albeit are pretending to be a bit more traditional. It did make for some humorous back and forth in the dialogue, and also some authentic commentary on the world that we live in and how people view others who see things differently than they do. Proof that social commentary can be delivered in films when it is approached in a more natural way. And also when you don't allow that commentary to completely dominate the film.
Message!
The only other thing that really jumped out to me was the surprisingly little amount of on-screen violence. The most horrific things in this film were merely insinuated and left up to the audience's imagination, which I always find more interesting than being violent for the sake of being violent. Bottom line, I enjoyed Speak No Evil a lot more than I thought I would. It's a horror thriller with a less is more approach that places more emphasis on the characters and building genuine tension than it does the tired, lazy horror tropes that dominate most modern films. I had a good time with this movie and it gave me exactly what I was looking for in a film like this. It's nothing life-changing, but it doesn't really have to be either, and that's why I'm going to give Speak No Evil the pleased Palpatine.
Good.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.